Cathodic Protection network is now changing so that members can get rewarded for their input. Those who have just clicked to be members of Facebook or LinkedIn groups will be regarded as followers and receive no benefits except the ability to chat with others about corrosion control. Those wishing to be involved in this global project should email me at ralexander1938@gmail.com, and I will then enter them into my admin system in the folder of the country in which they are resident. I will then send them instructions about the structure of Cathodic Protection Network blockchain and how it functions financially, technically and scientifically in the only way that can really control corrosion to network of pipelines and facilities. In real science, there is no such thing as a half cell, but there is a half cell reaction, and the words half cell have been borrowed by pseudo-scientists and opportunists, cowboys and charlatans who inherit the world of cathodic protection. These words are according to a report to the directors of Shell International in the mid-1970s. Now you must look at these pictures. What we call a half cell is just a piece of copper in a clear plastic tube with a porous plug at the end. This is not a half cell. It is an electrode. If you look at the root of this misnomer, you see a laboratory arrangement referred to as DIN 50918, in which a measurement is made in controlled closed circuit conditions in which two reaction potentials are compared. This is shown in the picture now. One is the reaction of hydrogen to platinum, and the other is the reaction of a copper to saturated copper solution, sulfate solution. This measurement can be used to ascertain when equilibrium has been reached with no current flowing, and therefore no metal is going into solution, according to Faraday. These pictures explain that. If this equilibrium is due to an external influence on the potential of the electrolyte at its interface with the metal, then corrosion has indeed been controlled by that external influence, as shown in these three pictures. Corrosion control engineers must have a method to measure this equilibrium at each interface on any structure. To say that to stick a copper-copper sulfate or silver-silver chloride electrode at some random place in the corrosion circuit and make a voltage measurement is totally ridiculous and reflects on the mental ability and reasoning power of those who believe it. Look at these pictures. They will help you to understand. It becomes more ridiculous over the years as the proposed criterion for cathodic protection fails over and over again, until the highest advisory organisation in the world has no fewer than 3 suggestions that might be used if the others cannot be met. These are shown in these pictures. The search for a method to justify this stupidity has resulted in yet another scientific approach being bastardised. This proposal was made by a laboratory in the Netherlands, to which I was invited in the 1970s to witness a demonstration of the immediate off potential measurement. I was then asked to try this method out in the field in Nigeria and reported that it is impossible to replicate in any way for field use because the number of substantial difficulties that were impossible to resolve. Too many variables. These pictures show clearly my efforts. I therefore devised an arrangement of coupons that could be used as electrodes to measure the actual corrosion current, relative potentials of the electromotive forces at the interfaces with the electrolyte, as shown in these pictures. This corrosion cell can be used in conjunction with the standard copper-copper sulfate electrode to ascertain if corrosion has been stopped at each location at the time of the test. The fact that this can be related to so-called pipe-to-soil potential measurements recorded historically to extrapolate the real corrosion status of the pipeline or structure. This arrangement was named the Alexander cell by Tim French Mullins, the founder of the Institute of Corrosion Science and Technology in the UK, that has been claimed to be the forerunner of the present Institute of Corrosion. These pictures show the half cell and the Alexander cell. An Alexander cell is in design stages for use in water, but the onshore general purpose model is now widely and successfully used, but denied by the pseudoscientists who realise that it exposes their basic theoretical designs and procedures as rubbish. The picture here shows that the copper-copper sulfate electrode is not a reference electrode, and the Alexander cell is a corrosion cell. Now we must fit our structure into the present reality that we call now. The scientific method allows us to think clearly, reviewing observations, opinions and evidence provided by real data, logged by accurate instruments and analysed by computer. Electrical energy is controlled by laws of nature using electronic circuits, and this controls all accounting at global level. However, a nuclear explosion disrupts all energy at a level that will destroy all banking records instantly over the whole area of influence of the shockwave frequency. During a nuclear explosion, all unstable chemicals explode, all the bullets in every gun would fire at once, blowing the gun to pieces. This is why I was visited by men in suits who, when I suggested a way to stop hijackers. It all begins with a simple idea of energy, not just power in the conventional sense, but energy as the foundation of everything: movement, matter, light, even perception itself. When we look at the universe, what we are really seeing is energy in motion. Waves interacting, emitting photons, forming patterns that our brains assemble into what we call reality. An explosion, then, is not just an event. It is an expansion, something that unfolds over time, shaping everything in it. From the very beginning, from what we describe as a singularity, all forces and interactions emerged. A moment that still defines the structure of the universe today. As we move forward, everything around us is becoming increasingly electrical. Electric vehicles, ships, aircraft, drones, entire infrastructures now depend on precise control of electrical energy. Systems that must be protected, understood and maintained. Because energy doesn't just exist, it moves, and wherever it moves, it interacts with materials. Corrosion, at its core, is not just decay. It is an electrical process, a flow of energy that gradually breaks down the systems we rely on. This is where understanding becomes critical. The scientific method gives us a way to think clearly, to separate observation from opinion, to rely on real data measured by accurate instruments and analysed by powerful computers. Computers themselves are nothing more than highly precise adding machines. But through them we model, predict and control the flow of energy across global systems. Yet every person sees only part of the picture. Everyone has a big picture in mind, but each perspective is limited. Reality is assembled individually, shaped by what we can observe and understand. Progress doesn't come from accepting what we are told. It comes from questioning, from going back to fundamentals, from asking, where does energy come from? How does it move? And how do we protect the systems that carry it? Because once you truly understand the problem, you can begin to solve it. This is where new thinking emerges. The Alexander cell represents a shift in perspective, not just a device, but a way of understanding energy differently. A system that explores how energy can be generated, controlled, and applied with greater efficiency and precision. It challenges conventional assumptions and pushes us to rethink what is possible within electrical and energy systems. And like all meaningful progress, it begins with fundamentals. Because whether we are looking at the structure of the universe, the flow of electricity, or the corrosion of materials, the same principles apply. Energy moves, systems respond, understanding creates control, and control is what allows us to build, protect, and advance the world around us. If you have found this video informative and helpful, please give it the thumbs up, like, subscribe, and add your information to the information we are gathering in Cathodic Protection Network blockchain. Thank you for listening.